to go through the mountain. So he gave a parcel to us, which he drew on a plan that he had, I can't seem to find my copy of it, to be honest with you. And there was a parcel for the police department also, behind ours, that I can't find my copy of it. But Dave Hanlon had written it out and so forth. And that was, when we discussed this, as the area that they're talking about working in.
There must be a record in the DPW Cemetery Department as far as what's been deeded out already, I would assume.
If I might interject, on that packet you have, you should have a small plan, an engineer's
I saw
plan.
that, yeah.
We do.
You see it?
Yep.
And that, as it says in the very fine print, it mentions, it says firefighter's easement. And based on that fact, we did that further dedication in 2009.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Yu.
Is it a requirement that the Relief Association has to come to the town to ask for permission to do something
Well,
like
it
this?
involves public property, and as such, it should be in that matter that's approved by the board.
But is it required?
I think is under the board's policy concerning solicitation of funds, it is required to come before the board for its approval.
Yeah, it's a board policy.
The board actually has a policy on solicitation and
I mean,
solicitation.
I appreciate you coming forward, and I guess if it wasn't required, I appreciate it even that much greater, so, but I appreciate
welcome.
this. I think the idea is a very good idea. So.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
No, I just want to be certain that there's no question that this has been deeded, conveyed, or what have you, to this cause, so there's no issue going forward.
There's no deed per se, but it is allocated to the fire association.
Okay, what do you have?
The land is all ledge. The purpose of building a cemetery is very expensive to build graves there, so that's why we've never had any objection.
It's on the hill. Yeah, that's on the,
Yeah,
We got it.
And I'm
We got
completely in favor of this. I just want to protect their interest
We
and
got it.
make sure it's been covered,
Right,
either
that-
previously or now.
So I can put together, it's not a recorded easement per se, but the land is 100% dedicated to that use.
and a couple of years ago, they had a dedication ceremony associated with it.
Yes, that's correct, in June, on Fireman Sunday, which is the second Sunday of June every year. And we incorporated it in that ceremony then.
Very good.
Well, go forth and sell your bricks.
Right.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night, Paul.
Mr. Balakonis, thank you.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is EMS Regional Heart Community. Who's the spokesman for that?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'd like to introduce Mr. Jonathan Epstein. He's the Region 3 EMS Director. He's here to make a presentation to the town for a CPR Safe Community. Tonight we have Chief Murphy, Firefighter Batchelor, who's our ALS Coordinator, and Mr. Epstein. I'll let him go next.
Welcome.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. It's my pleasure to come here this evening to the town of North Reading to designate the town of North Reading as a heart-safe community. Several years ago, the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, along with the Office of Emergency Medical Services, developed a program for communities to work towards improving the potential lives saved from cardiac death and disability within the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, putting together a criteria that each community would address the what we refer to in cardiac survival as the chain of survival, making sure that there is an appropriate 911 system functioning in order to respond both ALS and BLS resources to a call quickly, early CPR, early defibrillation with the including of putting AEDs, automatic external defibrillators, into all responding first-line apparatus and cruisers in the community, as well as putting AEDs into public buildings, which you've done in many of your public buildings and schools, as well as reaching out for community CPR events for training the public in CPR. So I'm pleased to say that North Reading, with really the champion work of Firefighter Batchelor and Chief Warnock, retired actually Chief Harris as well. Thank you for being here, and soon to be Chief Murphy. Certainly, this is a real great collaboration with the police department and fire department, schools, board of health to really ensure that the residents of North Reading are receiving the utmost care and capability within your community. So I do have a certificate from my office in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Heart Safe Community North Reading, in recognition of the community's efforts to improve survival from sudden cardiac arrest and for meeting the criteria to be designated a Heart Safe Community, presented this day, the 5th day of December 2011, by Mass Department of Public Health, Office of Emergency Medical Services, by the Commissioner, John Auerbach, Department of Public Health, and then myself as Executive Director of Northeast EMS, Mass Region 3 as your overlaying regional EMS community. So with the certificate, we also do get to present. I'll cover it up here, but you may have seen these in a few other communities, but you are getting 2 road signs that you can proudly place somewhere in the community and roadways that enter into the community, designating this community as a heart-safe community. So additional signs we can talk about later, but you get 2. You can fight about which roadways you put them on. But again, congratulations to all the departments, the hard work within the community. Just want to recognize that.
Trying to get 20.
Oh, budget.
Thank you very much, and I just want to applaud both departments for getting us this recognition of being a heart safe community.
Nice job.
Give it to Greg to somewhere in the house.
Hi, Phil, the Batchelder, good job. Thank you for following up on this, I appreciate it. Copy and Nancy. We'll hand them over to the DPW. Thank you again for everything.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to say that, through a concerted effort on the part of
I'd
the...
like to just say...
Okay,
too,
go ahead, Herbie, go ahead.
In conjunction with Police Chief Murphy, Chief Nolan was involved too.
Yeah, and I'd just like to say, over the years, there's been strong advocacy, by the chiefs, former chiefs, current chiefs, chiefs before them, in order to get us to this stage where, we have the appropriate apparatus in all of our first responding equipment, and it's taken us a little while to get there, and we've had some very dedicated people over the years to continue to advocate through all the budgetary concerns that we've had. In addition to that, they've done a very good job of soliciting our businesses, local businesses, to support the effort too along the way, and it's nice to get the recognition from the Commonwealth, and appreciate everybody's efforts, and you're to be congratulated. Thank you very much.
I mean, certainly from a regional perspective, as the regional director, I've been doing this for 16 years, and certainly I'm working with each city in town, working your service zone plan development of the EMS response plan. I look forward to working with North Reading as you develop your advanced life support system within the community. That's kind of your next big challenge. I know I've met with the department several times already in the last couple of weeks to really spearhead and move that process along, make sure you have an appropriately functioning ALS system directly in the town of North Reading as well. So I look forward to continued success and work with the town.
That's right. I'm looking forward to the implementation of the ALS.
And we get the
Hold
right
on.
guy working on
Right.
it.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Good night. Good to see you too, young man.
Working hard.
Yeah, doing well. Thanks so much.
Good night, thanks again.
Thanks for coming by. Happy
Greg.
holidays to you.
Since the rest of the meeting is related to our own internal discussions and everything, we have the Board of Health here.
Yes.
To talk about that, so why don't we just, that's gonna be under old new business, I think.
No, we've actually got it listed on the agenda,
It's on the agenda, it's number 5.
and
Number
I'm
6,
sorry.
I'm sorry.
I would like to,
Six,
to introduce, if you don't mind. Thank you to Mr. Hunt and Mr. Fair for being here this evening.
You're right, it is the same.
You have a couple of things that were in your packet, the general ledger report from the Finance Department and the accounts payable. And also in my report, or the supplemental packet this evening, I gave you an estimate of the amount of funds that are necessary to fully restore the health director's position through the end of the fiscal year. And the amount that's necessary is $17,466. I've looked at our salary pool, and I would recommend that if the board is in favor of restoring the position, that we fund that amount via the salary pool. There is no need for an action of town meeting. Your word is sufficient to make that happen, and I would ask you to consider that this evening.
Discussion?
Just as a follow-up, I know you gave us an awful lot of information, Gary and Martin, last week. Your recommendation obviously hasn't changed at this point, as far as obviously recommending the
Who directing that?
well, Greg and Gary, I guess, I guess we have been provided more information than we were previously. And again, I have been hearing from some members of the general public and particularly contractors over the last few weeks as far as the inability for our health department to meet their needs on a timely basis based upon weather conditions and all the rest. So I'm fine with restoring the funds for the current fiscal year at this particular time. If you think the salary pool can absorb it, or you don't anticipate having to go to the finance committee for a reserve transfer?
No, not on this item. However, there's, as you know, we have not settled all of our contracts. There's always the possibility that we get to Springtown meeting in June and we need to transfer an amount of money. But this is really the only means that we have to be able to cover the shortfall without a town meeting or reserve fund action of the finance committee.
Okay, again, my only question is if we don't anticipate going to the finance committee, or if we anticipate a need to go to the finance committee later on in the fiscal year, maybe we should do it sooner rather than later. Because to me, this was the unanticipated consequence of our deliberations, which probably would fit within the
They're gonna make
four
you
corners of
wait
the
till
deliberation. What's that?
They're gonna make us
They're
wait.
gonna make you wait.
Oh, we got a $17,000
You can't
shortfall
put them
here.
on notice,
No,
though.
but we have a $17,000 shortfall.
I'll be meeting with the finance committee Wednesday evening, and I'll bring it up as,
We remember the finance
Finance
committee.
committee.
He walks in the door.
I will be bringing it up as part of my, my report to Mr. Kelleher and his committee members, making them aware. We're also doing some projections on our salary pool for the remainder of the year, and this will be part of that calculation.
The one thing I would like to ask the Board of Health and Martin both is, in preparation for the 2013 budget, can we detail out the various things that we're doing and what we're paying for as consultants too, and see if there's any possibility of consolidation of some of the tasks? Prepared to, as part of the budget process, to put that information together.
How do you mean, Bob? Consolidation?
Well, I mean, right now, for example, we're paying for restaurant inspection,
Right.
right? I'm not sure that I've heard completely that the number of hours that we currently have scheduled, working back to past history, that we don't have some surplus time that we could be doing some of that, if it makes sense? Meaning we might be able to reduce in the short term the amount of money we're spending on outside services.
I think if I hear your question,
I'm sorry if you,
what I would say is simply just ask us to look at the current budget and are there any economies that we can find to reduce things, including that. Make it a general
yes.
request. So that's what normally I'm accustomed to in a management setting, to say, look at your budget, it's been level funded for a long period of time. Is there any place where we can get some efficiency, some economies, and by all means we'll do that. Whether it's Martin's labor, whether it's subcontracting, or what have you. There's essential services that we really can't cut,
Right, you did cover that.
Yeah,
so
We're not talking about cutting services, we're talking about maybe of having Martin absorb some of those services that are delivered again, rather
Yeah.
than contracting it out.
Yeah, that's right. That's an option. We don't have a lot of subcontracting other than the restaurant inspections at this point. But there's other things on the budget that we can look at. Yeah, we can do that, sure.
Okay,
Great.
that was.
I think we don't want to go through this again, and I'm sure you don't. So we want to come forward with all the information that you need and that we want to present up front, close and personal, you know what I mean? So that we're not where we are today.
Great. Mr. Delaney.
I just have a couple of comments, and I think, in discussing with Michael too, I think his comments will echo my comments, that this whole issue was handled incorrectly from the get-go. This is an issue that was debated by this board back in the spring, and it wasn't a last-minute decision in October by this board to cut Board of Health budget, but also the department did not present its budget or justified its budget when it came to us in the spring. So I hope going forward that those issues never happen again, put us in this situation where we need to find money elsewhere to supplement the